Get ready for the 2025 Charleston Black Expo Weekend, March 7th and 8th. Join us for another exciting and empowering weekend for the entire family. Friday, experience the taste of Black Charleston at the Charleston Visitor Center. Saturday, enjoy the Charleston Black Expo at the Charleston Area Convention Center with guest speaker Kirk Franklin. And end the weekend at the official after party at the Segra Club. It's an enlightening, educating, and entertaining Lowcountry weekend you don't want to miss. For more information and to get involved, visit blackexposouth.com.
It's time for a little comedy, a little content, and a lot of conversation. It's the Geno Jones Show, exclusively right here on YouTube. Now here's your host, Geno Jones.
Now it's time for me to be on camera. What's happening, everybody? My engineer, my technical director, just a little snafu. Hey, it's showtime. Geno Jones Showtime. I'm coming to you live Monday through Friday. 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 in Chicago, 3:30 p.m. live in Los Angeles. Please tell everybody to subscribe to my YouTube channel. It is so important that we support Black-owned media. Once again, for those who would like to be a sponsor, those who like to advertise, be a part of the Geno Jones Show family, I'd be honored to have you. Individuals, if you would just like to support the mission and support the platform, support what I'm doing, what the show is doing, making sure that we have Black-owned media, that we have voices that will speak truth to power. You can make a contribution one time. You can make it reoccurring. Doesn't matter. You can cash at me at dad, capital D, small AD, capital G, capital J, lowercase ONES, $, Dad G Jones. You can Zelle me, Geno Jones, that's how you spell it. Just type in, if it asks for a number, it usually is email address or phone number. If you type in Geno Jones on Zelle and then 843, so it's going to be the only 843 area code with Geno Jones on Zelle. All right, so. Well, last night was a shit show. I'm just going to cut through the chase. And I didn't watch it. I hope you didn't, because it was going to be triggering, because you knew Orange Hitler was going to lie. As a matter of fact, the only time he didn't lie probably was when his mouth was closed, which was never. So it was just basically an hour and 40 minutes of lies and hatred and BS. But we're not going to focus on him, not at all. We're going to focus on, and we're not going to focus on the foolishness about, are we going to, one way or another, we're going to take Greenland and Panama and, talking about invading northern Mexico. Just all that foolishness is a distraction. What you need to focus on is cutting Medicare or Medicaid, and eventually want to get to Medicare and Social Security. But the Medicare cuts, now understand, Medicare supports children, poor children, and children with disabilities, adults with disabilities, our moms and dads and grandparents in nursing homes. Did you know like 90% of the people in nursing homes, that money comes, at least a portion of it from Medicaid? Didn't know that? Or the SNAP benefits, EBT card, or whatever you want to call it, food assistance, 41 million people. They want to cut $230 billion. And oh, by the way, for the MAGA red hat wearing, flag flying cultists, understand that 37%, the largest number of Americans that collect SNAP benefits on SNAP, are white Americans. 37% of the people, Americans on SNAP, are white. 26% are black. 26% are black. 16% are Latino. But this is what I want to focus on. And my guest is back, the official, our legal expert and political consultant, or contributor to the show, Professor Sean Mitchell, is going to be on camera in about 60 seconds. But like I said, listen, we got to focus on, start where you stand. Got to take over. And listen, I don't want to hear people complain about, well, the Democrats ain't doing First of all, the Democrats, a lot of them are doing stuff. You're not seeing it or hearing about it because you're not looking at the right media. You're looking at the wrong media. You're not going to get it on CNN or like all the major networks, or probably even you may get a little bit on MSNBC. That's why you have platforms and shows like mine. And I got to give a big shout out, just a quick diversion, to Roland Martin and his Black Star Network, and to Angela Rye and all those that did this 24-hour marathon. So they live streamed for 24 hours straight. It was like 2 portions, the State of Our Union. Listen, they did a great job. You all did a great job. So many, man, there's so many brilliant, talented, strong black people in this country. We got this. We're all we got. I've been saying this since November 6th. It's clear. America just has basically said, America has given black Americans, black folks, their ass to kiss. Like, we don't give a shit about you. We never did. We don't like you. We just want your money. And if we could get you all to provide free labor to generate wealth for us, and don't think they're not trying to go back to that again for getting rid of the 14th Amendment. I digress. But listen, don't complain if you don't like the way things are being run. Take it over. Take over everything local. How many times have you heard me talking about it? From your aldermen, alderwomen, to your city council people, district attorneys, mayor's office, your school boards. Find talented, qualified people that understand the assignment. That's about getting things done to help people, not themselves, to empower people and not themselves. Take over these school boards. Take over these city halls and city councils, your local sheriffs. We just had an incident here in North Charleston, South Carolina. An African-American man, former veteran, dealing with mental health issues, was shot and killed by one of the local police. And of course, Orange Hilder said he wants to give immunity to, like, all cops. If you shoot somebody, if the cops shoot them, they got immunity. Now, the tricky part is dumbass didn't realize he may have immunity from federal crimes, but he can't give you immunity from local or state charges. I digress. And Sean can speak to that because he's a lawyer. But take over your state house and Senate seats, governors, police chiefs. Get on these police departments to counteract and check this MAGA cult movement that's been infiltrating law enforcement and the military for many years now. I mean, FBI report came out several years back, talked about how this white nationalist movement and these white racist, white nationalists were intentionally joining and infiltrating local, state, federal law enforcement and the military. Take over. That's if there's one thing, if you look at what MAGA did, the one thing that I'll say, if they did it, you can do it, we can do it. There is no longer a Republican Party. The Republican Party that your grandmother knew or that your daddy knew, it doesn't exist. It is a racist, sexist, xenophobic, misogynistic, sexist cult run by racist billionaires that are just using race and homophobia and transphobia to trick poor and working class white people because they don't give a shit about poor and working class white people. So y'all need to wake up once again to the MAGA red hat wearing, flag flying, these cuts to Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, insulin spike, and the tariffs that old boy had to kind of back up. He backed up a little bit and talked about he was going to pause some of the tariffs he was putting on China or Canada, China, and Mexico today because the stock market tanked for 2 days. And I'm sure some of them big money folks, them CEOs and them billionaires was like, hey man, hold on. Hold on, Orange Hitler. You messing up my money. Now we understand you really ain't a businessman because your businesses went bankrupt 6 times, but don't mess up our money. But I digress. Let me bring my guest on. So glad to get him back. He's a professor, lawyer, just a brilliant mind, and just a treasure. Ladies and gentlemen, you've seen him on before. He is our legal expert and a contributor to the Geno Jones Show. There you see him on camera, ladies and gentlemen. Boy, that's that Chi-Town swag. Look at that. Bam, he got his glasses on, got his beard all, gussied up. Got that Kango cocked. Professor Sean, look at the mic, boy. But life is good. Look, man, look at him.
Yeah, life it continues to get better. It's been great.
Turn your volume down a little bit if you can, or
just
move back
a little
from the
bit.
mic.
Is that better? Is that better right there?
A little more, a little scotch more. Talk
right there.
No, look, go back up a little bit.
Back up a little bit.
Yep.
Right there.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's been a while since I had to put my engineering skills to task. I do miss having those headphones, or the cans as we call them in the studio.
Yeah.
And listening to that process mic. So I finally invested into a mic, and so here we are. So let's start with, you brought up a point earlier so that we're all on the same page. You are absolutely correct. Under the pardon powers, which the president is vested through the United States Constitution, he can only pardon citizens or individuals for federal crimes. If one commits a state crime, and so typically murder, petty theft, the way the Constitution, Article 3 powers, so when you hear us talking about Article 3 powers, those are the powers of the Supreme Court and the court system, the federal court system. Typically, the federal courts come into play when there's a federal question. So what is a federal question? Well, anything that is contesting rights that one may have through the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, or any enumerated rights or non-enumerated rights. So individuals are protected. That is considered a federal question. Another way things come into the federal courts is when there's conflicts or legal issues between states or amongst states, or the states are suing the federal government for whatever reason. And then another way that individual citizens usually find themselves in federal court is when there's a diversity action. Now, diversity action is not like what you think when we're talking diversity, equity, inclusion. In the federal courts, diversity action simply means that a plaintiff who is bringing a case against a defendant is due $75,000.01 or above. And that plaintiff is from a different state. So let me give you an example. Say I was going to, Geno Jones was here in Chicago last week, and I was driving down the street, and he negligently hit my Land Rover and caused $78,000 worth of damages and personal injuries. Now I have a choice. I can take Geno to court in Illinois State Court, or I can sue Geno in Illinois federal court, because diversity action allows for me to sue him because my claims are more than $75,001, and Geno is from a different state, South Carolina. The reason why it would go to federal court is that it's typically believed that federal court is more disengaged or more neutral when there comes to actions between citizens of one state and another state. So that's just a quick, like, law school 101, first day of school lesson about how the federal government is structured and how things arrive in federal court and what the president can pardon, which is only federal crimes. He cannot pardon an individual who, in his defense, comes to the state of Illinois and shoots and kills anybody. That falls under the federal government, under the state government. Now, can the federal government bring murder charges against someone? Yes, they can, but typically the federal government, when they do that, that's usually like a military tribunal, which is kind of like this own separate little thing, or the crime is so heinous, maybe even if technically an individual that commits a crime in Washington D.C. could be brought in federal court. But most of the time, federal court is for those egregious crimes or disputes that have more to do with the Constitution or a federal law or a federal quote unquote question. So that's how that all works. And hopefully I answered some questions. Now,
Well, let me
to the
just jump
current.
in, Sean. Let me just jump in on that point, and I'm glad that you went into detail because there was talk. Once again, I'm gonna say this again, everybody. Understand that a lot of the stuff you hear is chaos. The chaos and the confusion, creating the anxiety and fear, is intentional to keep you
Right.
distracted from following the money and following
Right.
what they want to do in terms of basically gutting all the money for any program to benefit poor and working class people of all races, MAGA cult,
Right.
including you,
Right.
to give. So you gonna cut? They want to cut your mother's Social Security and Medicare. And if you've got a family member, a child or niece or nephew that gets money, they call it SSI disability, which is Medicaid. So they want to cut your grandmother's Social Security so Elon Musk can get more than the $8 million a day that he gets
Mhm.
from American taxpayers. A dude who ain't even, I don't even know, is he American citizen? I don't know. We need to see his papers and his green card. But I
Yeah,
digress. But they were talking
most
about
definitely.
they should, or maybe President Trump should pardon Derek Chauvin, the man who killed George Floyd, who is serving time because he was convicted on state charges. And these assholes were too dumb to even understand, or they did and they didn't care. It was just to appeal to that bigoted, racist, hateful, xenophobic MAGA base.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, for the most part, that's out of bounds as far as the what the president could do in that matter. The state of Minnesota um, uh, went for charges against him, and they charged him with state crimes. I can't remember off the top of my head. It might have been second degree murder
Yeah, I think
in
you're right. Yeah.
Minnesota, and so yeah, it was no federal crimes charged there, and so that wouldn't apply. Um, I think the other dynamic of it is that because the majority of Americans might be confused about the actual powers of the president, and there's a lot of confusion about the structure of the government. What tends to happen is Trump operates from this just, I'm just going to create chaos and distraction, or as we call it on the west side of Chicago, the overplay for the underplay. It's kind of like a shell game where he's like, look over here, over here, over here, while he's moving the cup with the shell over here. And so those are all distractions. First of all, they're the majority of the things that they've ever tried as both administrations thus far, they've been very incompetent. The other dynamic of it is that the real agenda is to get those tax cuts through during this part of his term, because it's almost obvious, outside of something catastrophic happening or some kind of excuse or some major fraud, that the current makeup of Congress will continue beyond 2026. And so I think that that should be the first goal of everyone. And then at the same time, people activating, organizing, working to resist, speaking out, protesting where and when appropriate, and doing all of those necessary things. Because at this point, um, there's not too many guardrails outside of the court system that can really stop some of the things he can get through. Executive orders are not binding law, but the president does have a right within certain areas to pass executive orders. And then he can also execute foreign agreements or execute foreign diplomacy and foreign relations, meaning he can take the money away from Ukraine or pause it. But the Supreme Court has also said in the last 24 hours that he can't stop payments from the federal government because that's already been negotiated through Congress and signed into law by President Biden, and those things have to go through. And then I believe the Supreme Court has also said you can't stop foreign aid that
Yes,
has already
today.
been
Yeah.
allocated as well.
But
So
let me stop you.
there
I want
are
you.
things that are keeping the guardrails
Right.
on to some extent.
The only reason I jumped in because I want to stop you at a certain point, something you just said, so we can go back and get a clear understanding. Because you were talking about money to Ukraine. Now, the president, I guess any money that he could have sent through some kind of emergency executive order, but money that was specifically designated by Congress, he doesn't control that because the executive branch don't control the purse, as
No.
they said.
No.
The Congress does. So
But
explain that to us. Yeah.
he can disrupt or pause. See, remember, he hasn't stopped the aid to Ukraine. He's paused it. That money has already been allocated. It's in the pipeline. It's agreed. It just means that he gets to somewhat, as a part of executing his duties, he gets to determine the timeline. As unfortunate as it may sound, is like, unless it was actually written into the law, and which is probably highly unlikely because the Congress usually gives themselves some space in case something goes wrong. And so you can imagine the Democrats who are crafting this bill to prepare to get signed and move through to Biden. They would make sure they left themselves an out in case various things happen. That's just commonplace. All he's doing is making a lot of noise with the levers that he can push. It's similar to, I can remember a long time ago, and God rest her soul, my Aunt Mary had a 1977 four-door Cadillac with the windows, the power windows that went up and down. You remember they went up and down. I can remember she took my aunt took my cousin and I and my younger brother somewhere along with my grandmother, and they went in the store. And this is like late 70s, so you could leave kids in the car without really worrying. They didn't leave the keys on, but we were just playing with the windows up and down, up and down, up and down, just having a good time. And Mary got tired of it, and she put a switch to it. What is that? What am I saying? I'm saying that at the end of the day, um, that's all like a distraction. It's performative. Some things, yeah, he's going to cause glitches. But when it comes to things like Social Security, you should be paying attention to what budgets pass in each house. There is a lot of information out there. I've seen estimates of people who make $20,000 a year. Your taxes are going to go up by like $753. And whereas someone making 94 to 120,000, I think your taxes are going to go up to $1,700. While people say, well, that's not that much money. Well, the person who makes $20,000, 700 and some dollars is that cable bill for the year, the cell phone bill for a year,
Medicine, groceries.
gas for 6 months, grocery. That's a lot of things. The person that's making 94,000 to 110, depending on the size of their family. I mean, a family of four, that's no money.
No,
But
especially
say,
where you, depending on where you live, Chicago,
this
LA,
virtual-
New York.
Right, that's no money. But let's just say it's two individuals making that much. Well, that $1,700 is like, I can't take that cruise, or I can't take that trip, or I can't go buy that new TV I was going to buy. And so typically on average, it's going to affect different people in different ways. But the point is, it is going to affect you. And the sad part is that some of the things that this current administration touted to get themselves elected is not coming to fashion. Eggs are up over 40%. Gas is creeping up. Housing has went up. Are we any safer in the world? Is your 401k better than it was when he was inaugurated on the 21st of January? So
Nope.
ask yourself those questions.
There's the answer.
Yeah, it's the simple answer is no.
What about a case of
you know what?
eggs? Since we was
Yeah.
complaining about, oh, the Biden and the egg. Day one, I'm going to reduce the prices of groceries.
Yeah.
What happened with that?
And it seems that the gouging is even more fierce because you have an administration that has crippled the agencies like the USDA, the Consumer Fraud Protection Board, the National Labor Relations Board, the FAA, the NOA. And a lot of you don't understand that many of the disability rights come through the Department of Education, so they're crippling that.
Yes.
And so when you think about it, is the only people that really benefit from a crippling of government are the people that operate and have so much money that it doesn't really matter, and it benefits them because they are the ones that don't want the regulations. They don't want the cost. They don't want to pay you a fair wage. They want to be able to sell you poisonous food. They want to take over the farms and make them corporate farms along with the property and buy up all the houses to make it all corporate and make you have to pay them. Oh, by the way, we'll cripple Social Security so you can give us your money and gamble on the stock market with some madman in charge. Because what people don't talk about is the president actually does move markets. When the rest of the world sees the president unstable and not able to lead the country in a right and fair way, and then guess what? The market is unstable. So that means everyone with a 401k, everyone that has put money in various investments, you are seeing your gains from all of last year be wiped out in less than a few days. And oh, by the way, he's selling his own coins. He's got his minions selling their own cryptocurrency, and so it's like it's a conflict of interest that has been happening on a massive level, and now that this likely could be his possibly last term. And the only reason why I say that, before I say, oh, this is his last term, but now I just don't know, because you have a complicit Congress. You have people like South Carolina's Lindsey Graham, who is anti-communist, anti-Putin, but still doing the work and the propaganda of Putin. And so that leads me to believe that the message has went out wide and strong. Billionaires are taking advantage of this human message of white nationalism, unite around the world. And white nationalism isn't just about white people hating blacks. It's also about those same white men not liking gender advances, those same white men not caring about the LGBTQIA community, those same white men not caring about anyone that is not white nationalist Christian. Notice I said white nationalist Christian.
And a billionaire.
Well, actually, their minions are the brokest people. Their soldiers are the broke people. The billionaires are just funding this as a divisive manner.
Right.
If the left could create as much turmoil as the right does, the billionaires would fund the left as well. Again, they don't care about the ideology. They care about the chaos, and the chaos allows them to steal. And see, that is the thing that I think we have to get over. As much as I hate some of the Trump pansies, I mean, at the end of the day, you need some of the Trump pansies to see the light and come back to the good side. And guess what?
First of
This
all,
is just gonna keep on going.
Well, let me say this, John.
Darth Vader eventually turned. At the end, he was dying, lost his hand, face blown off, but he eventually came back to the light.
I know.
So you have to believe in that. As much as I can't stand them, I despise them, it's not going to work without them.
No, wait. I'm
least jumping a portion of them.
I'm just jumping in. Wait, you could come back and finish your thought. I had to jump in. First of all, Trumpansies, I love. That's even better than the muskrats. But it's the point I wanted to make and emphasize, to piggyback on what we were saying. Listen, these billionaires, the Elon Musk, the Peter Thiels, that whole ilk, they they don't give a shit about poor and working class white people.
Right.
Okay, well, prove it. How do you know that? Just look at all of the tens of thousands of federal jobs that have been cut. 80% of people that work for the federal government work outside of Washington, D.C. So the majority of people that have lost their jobs, yes, you had a lot, you had a cluster, the whole DMV, DC, Virginia, Maryland, but the rest of these people, and a lot of them are in red states, South Carolina, Texas, Alabama, and you've seen them all on social media. You've seen them show up at these town halls. Well, I voted for Trump 3 times. I was in the military, veteran, and I got fired. And wait a minute, I just thought it was them. I just thought it was them DEI/N words, but you didn't know they look at you like the N word too. And I've said this so many times. I've actually had conversations with white men who are part of that, not billionaire class, but that 1% are close to it. C-level, C-suite level. They despise poor and working class white people. Why do you think Orange Hitler said people that go to the military are losers and suckers with his bitch ass?
Right.
What do you get out of it? You ain't get no money. They despise poor and working class white people more than, listen, they understand that the system was rigged for us not to, we were not brought here. Our ancestors were brought here to generate wealth for other people. So they can know that this game was rigged to oppress us, but they figure you look like me. If you're poor, something must be wrong with you. How come you didn't get in on the action?
Right. That's the old, why don't you pull yourself up from the bootstraps is not just a racial line. That applies to everybody that's not rich like them. I think the other thing, my unique experience of, especially early in radio when it was individually owned and it wasn't these big corporate conglomerates, having met some white owners of radio stations and radio groups and a few black owners of radio stations and groups that tend to fall that people wouldn't suspect as being conservative in their political leanings, but they are. I'm talking about people like Kathy Hughes. No take away from her accomplishments, but typically her political ideology has lined along with that. And I think that what people need to keep in mind is some of the words from history that we've heard. One of the famous quotes is Lyndon B. Johnson, that if you can convince the lowest white man that he's better than the best color man, then he won't notice you picking his pocket. Hell, he'll give it to somebody to be able to look down on.
Yes, he'll give you all of his money.
It's money. He'll empty his entire pocket.
Thank you. There it is.
So we actually live where some people, and I've seen this, and you'll probably start seeing a growing number, maybe not a significant number, but I guarantee you that there's probably 10 to 30% of the Trumpanzees, the maggots that are okay with the pain as long as it's hurting someone else that they don't like even more. And so that just shows you the sick pathology that you're dealing with. The other thing that I definitely want to bring up, and I want people to look into this because I'm not just making this up, but the fact of the matter is that I'm old enough, I'm 50 plus, and I grew up during an era, and my mom grew up in the era like your mom, and my grandparents were adults during the era because they were adults post World War II or during World War II. They're part of the greatest generation that the country was against Nazis and fascism. And so, although people, you can go back and look at history, that as Hitler was rising in this country, we probably had a loud 15 to 25% that supported what Hitler was doing to Jews.
Yes.
Especially in the early 30s. But let me even expand upon that. Russia was no more our ally during World War II outside of just military power and squashing the Germans. Post World War II, especially after we dropped 2 nuclear weapons on to Japan. Russia, at that point, were on their own mission to advance with the nuclear dynamic. Ever since my mother was a little girl and my aunt, we've had everything from McCarthyism, who went after the communists, and associations with Russia. Black folks, look up what happened to Paul Robeson. Why some of the greatest people during the Harlem Renaissance fled to Europe, and some others, a lot of other great actors fled to Europe. And so during that time, Russia was the enemy. My mother and your mother probably remember the drills where they got underneath wooden desks because of the fear of a bomb. If you go in many older cities, you'll see fallout shelters to some of my young folks. And so we've never been friends with Russia, and China became an adversary after they just passed us on the, we opened up China to the Western markets. Well, because of the cheap labor in China. That is why we opened up those markets. Those happened during Ronald Reagan. Just to give you a quick history level. Ronald Reagan was anti-communist as you possibly can, and most old hardcore Republicans are anti-communists. But now all of a sudden we have an individual who is in the White House, and the Republican Party is defending Putin and Russia. They are telling an ally who has been invaded. Well, I don't care how you feel about the Ukrainian war, but you have to understand that geopolitics is the world we live in. And while I live here and I want to protect all the black and brown people around the world, Russia sees us as an adversary. And so if you have a president who is too weak, too ignorant, too much of an imbecile to recognize that,
or too compromised,
and that very much, because here's my final point. We have been under a Russian psyops since the mid to late 80s. You can do your own independent research. I apologize for not having an article in front of me, but it's all over the internet. And it has been claimed that IQ 47 has been compromised since 1987. And his actions are showing that. You have to remember, all his actions are similar to the same playbook that dictators, fascists, and authoritarians, and even the communists have used around the world. You gain power, you lie and say it's a mandate, you cripple and neuter media, you attack people for their civil liberties and rights, and then you begin to squeeze and consolidate power by undermining and taking over the institutions. This has happened throughout the history of civilized democracies and governments throughout our world at least several times over the past 500 to 600 years. And so the unfortunate part is that FOA is really, really real. And hopefully this doesn't stop people from organizing, uniting, planning for the next election. You should now be looking at any local elections coming up. I live in an area that's having county board and school board and county president and all that. And even though a lot of these places, these positions are politically neutral, you can still research the person and find out what their political leanings are. Because, most of our congressmen, state representatives all come from whether they were the dog catcher or the trustee or PTA board and all of those things. That's how that's created. And so that's a good place to start. And the young people, I've heard something yesterday on Roland Martin's. I hope you all check it out, not to really promote another show. But
it's all good. I shouted him out. He did a great job, and so did Angela Rye on their 24-hour live stream on YouTube.
I heard and saw clips of it, but what I like is the ideal of rejuvenating a SNCC style movement, a student-led movement, because right now we really don't have that. And I think it's kind of ironic, but a foretelling from the Trump administration to threaten colleges if they start protesting. So what is coming, or what is about to come down the pipeline that will cause students to really start protesting? And my idea is the targeting and complete dismantling of the Department of Education. and that would probably be one way to do that. Now, let me say this. On the surface, what he said over tweet and edict without a federal law, which would probably be fought in court, is totally illegal, and he can't do any of those things, at least on the surface.
Give us a
Student
quick
visas
example,
might.
Sean. Give us a quick example of some of those things, or just one.
It's completely unconstitutional for the president to say that you cannot protest and redress the government
Right.
within government spaces. Yes, the schools and government can set time, place, and means of protest, but they can't completely outlaw protest or threaten to penalize you for protest, as long as it's peaceful, as long as it's not against any law, rules, or restrictions. The president cannot just arbitrarily do those things.
Because that's protected
But
by the First Amendment, correct?
it's protected by the First Amendment. It is a constitutional right that we all are endowed. But like I said, there are limits. There are rules. You just can't do what you want. You can't just show up someplace.
Get a permit.
Yeah, you have to. Some instances you need a permit. Some instances you can only do certain things in certain places because they've created a content neutral law that may be difficult because it's for public safety. So say you see whereas boulevards with these tree-lined places in the middle of the boulevard, and while you could put political and protesting signs there, it's a traffic hazard for you to stand on the middle of that because it's 50 miles an hour, and although it's not a closed highway, it's just a safety issue.
Yeah.
And so that is one of the examples that people sue, saying that you're violating my rights. But if it's not couched under the message and it's couched under a safety reason, then that's the nuance of that, and that's why they pay us the big bucks, is to sit down and be able to tell a group or be able to tell the city that you need to either change the law or you need to drop your case or we need to pursue this or whatever. And that's kind of a lot of the type of work that I do outside of teaching, is advocacy work or in those different areas, and working on legislation, whether it's things like pre-trial bail, uh, removing cash bail from nonviolent offenders, or it's looking at reforming the Illinois foster system to make sure that foster kids are represented legally by an attorney. There's many places where the guardian ad litem, no disrespect, because I think they overall do wonderful work, but there's a conflict of interest between the guardian ad litem and the individual they're over, and so that's where lawyer and legal representation could really help in that situation. And a lot of states don't provide that. And so I think that with those things in mind, we have to continue any of these nonprofit organizations, anything we're doing to fight for poor people, voter rights, equal opportunity. Those missions continue. It's just that right now we're in a very dark period. But just remember, there were dark periods before Brown v. Board, before the Civil Rights Act of 1964, or the Voting Rights Act of 1965. And between those times, there was Emmett Till. There were the four girls in Birmingham.
In the church.
There were the lynching. There were in the church. There were the lynchings of black people throughout the South for well over 100 years after the Civil War.
The end of Reconstruction.
The end of Reconstruction. To my Hispanic brothers, they've also experienced some things here in the country, to raids and to raping, to our Native Americans to be ran off their land, to the Asians who came and built the railroads, to the Irish and Italian immigrants, what they've went through in the country. I mean, so the country is built off, revolutionary protest and undoubtedly argument about rights. And just like in every situation, the Emancipation Proclamation, the Civil War was a great thing. We went into Reconstruction, and what happened? We had a direct swing back to the other side, where you had movies like Birth of the Nation being produced. You had the Red Summer of 1919 and 1920. You had Jim Crow laws created. You had all the statues
Tulsa,
of
what happened in
Confederate losing
Tulsa?
general. You had Tulsa. That's a part of the Red Summer of, I think, of
Well, that
1919.
was
You had
21. That was
the 21.
1921.
Excuse me. Yeah, but they're kind of, those things happen
Same
all over the
period. Yeah.
country in every single city. You had men, black men coming back from Europe who had served their country with the idea that we would be accepted as equal citizens. That didn't happen. You had so much, even during the Depression, even with the New Deal, there were black people in the South that never got Social Security because they didn't view black people as getting that. That I can remember my grandparents, even in the 70s and 80s, just shocked that the government followed through on that because they grew up in an era where the government didn't do that.
Social
And so we
Security,
need to,
Sean, since you, let me just jump in. You mentioned, I'm glad you mentioned that because that was part of my notes. So the first Social Security check went out in 1940.
right,
First black Americans didn't get a Social Security check until 1954, just to your
right.
point.
Exactly. And so those are all things that everybody needs to understand. They benefit all of us, and there's other ways to fix them. And I'm not going to go down to them, but one of the quick ways to fix them is raising the cap on Social Security tax deductions. The other way to fix Social Security is looking at making sure that all employers are contributing to that. There is very little fraudulent funds sent through Social Security. Let me give you an example of the things that are considered fraudulent that happens. For instance, God, God forgive, grandma or grandpa die, and they die February 28th, and they get their check on the 3rd. They still have bills, and the family goes and they cash that money. That is considered fraud and abuse, and those things happen. But let's be honest. Most of the time, it's not somebody with some big estate that passed. These are just average person. Grandma worked for the school district and was a teacher for 40 years. Grandpa worked at the plant, and they have a pension, and they get Social Security, and they pay their medication, and their house is paid off, and they pay taxes. Maybe they got a homestead exemption or something. Who knows? But the point is that this is not a lot of money, and this is their money. They paid into that
Yes.
system. And so those are the type of things that create fraud and abuse. Look, Pedro and I'm not being offensive, I'm just using this as an example and speaking in the Trumpanzee language to try to help convert some of them. And another thing with the Trumpanzees, they're not all white. Not all of them are white. There are black Trumpanzees. So I'm saying this as a collective. Pedro, who came from Guatemala, is not getting Social Security benefits. He's not getting Medicare benefits. But in this country, if Pedro goes to the hospital sick, the hospital takes care of him, at least gives him treatment to where he won't die. And then they charge him a bill. If he can't pay the bill, then it eventually comes back to us anyway. But the point is, Pedro is getting no more service than anyone else is entitled to the hospital. Medicare is not paying that, and Social Security doesn't pay out. And oh, by the way, if Pedro works for one of these shady billionaires who are allowing illegal immigrants to work for him, Pedro pays into the Social Security into the Social Security fund and does not get one benefit out of it. And there are millions of Pedros and Marias and people from China and
Haiti.
Japan and Haiti, all over the country that pay into our Social Security system and they don't receive one benefit, nor should they. But I'm simply saying is that is a lie. And a lot of you have fell for the banana in the tailpipe, to quote Beverly Hills Cop. Go look it up.
Yeah.
Eddie Murphy sticks a banana in the tailpipe of the cops that are on surveillance for him and takes off in his car. And when they pull off, it explodes. That's what happened to you right now. You voted for Trump. banana in the tailpipe, and now, right now, your car is exploding because those of you working government are losing your job, or you know somebody in your family then lost their job, or your benefits about to be cut, or grandmama's finna pay triple what she paid for insulin last month, and now you are at the banana in the tailpipe, i.e., FAFO, and now you're basically screwed. And it's unfortunate, Trump pansies, that you fell for the biggest flim flam that rich people and people in power have been running around the world for 600 or 700 years because you
Thank you.
refuse to educate yourself and read a book about some of these black and brown people in history because it makes you feel less than, and that's not my fault. And so, yeah, that's it.
That's a mic drop. I couldn't say anything any better. You talked about, like I said, start where we are, run for, take over. Because let me say this, Sean. What everybody needs to understand: these labels don't mean shit anymore.
No, they don't.
Democrat, Republic. Understand, there is
They don't.
no longer a Republican Party. It is a
No.
MAGA cult. It is a racist, a remixed racist version of Christianity that's ran by some billionaires that don't give a shit about any poor working
Any of
class
you.
people, including all you poor working class white MAGA cult members in your trailer parks or living in your neighborhoods with your flags flying. They don't give a shit about you. And now you are finding out. You effed around, now you are finding out, because I've talked to people who have already had some of their benefits, money that they get, Medicaid assistance. It has already been affected.
Right, right, very much so. And
Who
it, and,
voted?
and it's not going to be the end of it because people don't realize how many things are tied to the federal government. People still don't understand after it's been drilled in everybody's brain probably over the last 12 to 15 at least 10 years since he came down the escalator when he was talking about raising tariffs, that tariffs are a tax on you. They increase the cost of everything. Here's news, America. We don't make hardly shit in this country except bombs, missiles, and shit like that. I don't know. I don't buy that at Walmart. I don't need that. I do restock my bullets and stuff from time to time after a trip to the range, but I'm not in the market for a nuclear missile yet. So, we don't make shit. We don't make a TV here. I don't think we make too many refrigerator. I remember growing up with Frigidaire. That was like an American product. I don't think we
Zenith
make that here
TVs.
anymore. Yeah. All the parts in our cars, at least a few components, even if they're assembled here, come from overseas because the semiconductors and the materials. Every cell phone you pick up has remnants of the materials from Africa. And you should be thanking an African when you see them while you're standing there on your cell phone, because thank God to them that you have the Coltrane and stuff that you need to make a
Yep.
cell phone function.
The
And
cobalt.
so,
And,
yeah,
and,
and
and
all that.
China's trying to they're trying to corner that market in Africa, so we better wake up.
Right. That's the other thing. Our racism and lack of appreciation of resources is going to put us behind the eight ball on all these other resources that we need to continue to develop our economy. They're destroying the educational system. If we can't, here's what always baffles me. If you did a list around the country, HBCUs, PWIs, predominantly white institutions, whatever, predominantly Hispanic institutions, every year we're graduating thousands, probably hundreds of thousands of computer science, data science people, but we still continue to give HB1 visas to individuals from overseas in this area where we have more than enough graduates. So what's the problem? I do understand the medical field. That is an area that we're running very short, and I get that. I don't have a problem with HB1 visas, but what I'm talking about is when I see the Adderall dude that hasn't created one company, but comes in and buys a bunch of companies.
Oh, the
And I'm
muskrat.
not going to,
The
I'm
king
not going to
muskrat.
say his name. I refuse to
Mr.
give him
Ketamine.
even acknowledge. Yes, with him in particular, he hasn't created one thing. All he's done is was born in South Africa with a father who probably benefited, I'm sure, benefited from apartheid. See, I haven't forgotten about that.
Oh, he didn't. No. He is connected to apartheid. No, this.
Yeah. So I'm saying probably as to hold my journalistic integrity because I haven't really looked in it, but I'm sure it's safe to assume he does. And so with that being said, he didn't create those companies, and I just refuse to give them any more information. That's why I'm saying these companies. But most of you know who I'm talking about and what I'm talking about. And so his idea of flooding the United States with more South Africans, and now this is my opinion. I think South Africans and some people, a lot of the white people that are immigrants into South Africa and South America are basically Nazis who ran from Germany because they had the money and the means to do all that. And the reason why I bring that up, when you look at these countries, there's a very underlying racism stripping of the natural resources. Look in Brazil, how they just destroying the Amazon rainforest.
Yep.
That's not coming from Brazilian money. That's coming from outside money. And how they're doing various stealing of natural resources in Africa. That's not coming from the Africans. That's coming from outside sources of Africans, whether it's China or Russia. If we did have vibranium, guess what? Everybody got vibranium now in Africa because they've come and taken all the resources. And so that again shows you this is a global network of white supremacy. Honest white people know this. And I'm going to say this as I close, white folks that are listening, I always close with this for you. When you say, what could I do? I wish I had been Malcolm. When that young lady asked Malcolm, what can my people do? I would have said, if I had been Malcolm, I'm going to say what I'm going to say today. Talk to your people. That's what you need to do. I welcome all people of all color with good intentions, but go back and talk to your people. And black people, we need to talk to some of our people too.
Oh yeah.
And that's all I got to say.
Yeah. That's true. But no, you're right. I mean, the bottom line is 92% of black women and 80+%, anywhere from 80 to 85, depending on whose numbers, black men voted for humanity and decency and compassion and empathy and democracy. So black Americans, this is not on us. 53% of white women voted against their own reproductive freedom, against their own economic best interest, but I guess they feel they got the white man in power so that they're going to benefit. But now the House has already passed a law. You can speak to this, counselor, to where I can't remember the exact term, but if you are a married woman, wouldn't have the right to vote. Her husband would legally be voting for the household.
This is the first of me hearing that.
Oh, yeah, I can't.
Please share that with me when you get a chance via email.
Oh, just Google it. But this is a couple of weeks ago. It passed.
Wow.
It passed in the House. Basically, I can't remember the exact term. But this is in Project 2025, so it's not a secret.
Yeah, but see, remember what I said to you. Some of the stuff is the chaos distraction stuff. When you get into rights and issues like that, like watch. Next thing you're gonna hear is that him passing an executive order to say that everybody can practice Christianity. And it's like nobody's stopping anybody from practicing Christianity. And so when you hear stuff like this, and like that bill, and I believe you, it passed the House. It's not gonna make it through the Senate. You know, it looks good or it sounds like nutty stuff, but at the end of the day, it's the overplay for the underplay, just to hit you with so much stuff, so much outrageous stuff. So are you mad over here at this? We're over here doing this. Right. This person has gotten confirmed. Now they are over in the whole entire agency. And oh, you mad at this over there because he was talking about black people over here. Over here, he's taking away people with disabilities' rights to get a wheelchair ramp to go up in it. And oh, why you complaining that he's taking away transgender care and allowing them in the military? he's over here at the same time slashing the Department of Education, getting rid of this program that helps kids with developmental disabilities get the education they need, or taking away the department that oversees financial fraud against banks, and he's chipping away at the FDIC. And so again, it's so much coming at you fast and furious, and to top it all off, neither House of Congress, whether it's the House or the Senate, are doing any of their oversight. And oh, by the way, the opposition party is a minority, so they don't have a big voice. And oh, by the way, even the outlets that we watch that tend to slant towards our view are being slashed, cut, and cut off at the kneecaps. And so
And those
again, it's
voices
this
are being
constant
silenced.
barrage. Yeah, it's this
Showing those
constant
voices.
barrage.
Yep.
Yes, yes. And so at this point, you have to say it really falls on the people. And it also falls on those of us that are in these spaces. Be careful with what we say. It doesn't mean we shouldn't say what we say, but also remember that we can't speak on these platforms if we don't have self-preservation. And it seems that we're coming towards a time where I've become a little bit more measured and less hyperbolic, because you want to get the message out and you kind of want to fly under the radar getting the message out. I ain't never scared. Revolution come, it comes. Good luck with that. We all good. But what I'm saying is you don't want to do damage to your family in this critical time, because at the end of the day, ain't nobody coming to save you. You
And
got to save yourself.
on that point, it's important that collectively that we support black-owned media, but just black-owned businesses, and be strategic with our money, because money talks, and a lot of these big corporations, that is pulled back on the
Save your money.
DEI.
That's the other thing. When you're not spending it, don't spend it. Put it up.
Yep.
Because bad times are coming. It'd be nice to have the money that we're doing these different boycotts, and it's a long list. I'm not going to really get into it, but the blackouts and all those things we're participating in. But it's just helping grow my savings account. Maybe I don't go out to dinner like we normally do every Friday or over the weekend. Maybe I don't go and buy XYZ and only stick with the materials. Or maybe I need to wear this pairs of shoes an extra 2-3 years. I'm not bad on my shoes or anything. Maybe I got to hold off on buying that new car, or maybe I have to hurry up and buy the car because I like Land Rovers and they're going to go up in about 6 months.
Right.
Maybe I need to hurry up and get that house I want to buy because I need to get my family in a house, because we're in an apartment right now and I know it ain't going to be housing. So those are individual decisions. That's why you don't really hear me promoting boycotts. They do work, and I do like the way we're approaching it, but I can't make a judgment for a person who lives in a town of 50,000 and the only grocery store they have is Walmart and Target. I can't say you shouldn't go to Walmart. I do like the fact we're picking days to send a message, or picking times and stuff. And I think that there's ways. The other dynamic of this is, too, some of these boycotts will hurt people who work for these companies that agree with us politically. And so it kind of becomes a circle. I'm not, and don't take this saying, oh, he's anti-boycott. No, I'm definitely not. I'm just letting you know that everything is so interconnected now that we have to be careful and look at what the fallout is. Is it fallout towards the corporation? Does the collateral fallout hit the worker? Does the collateral fallout affect your 401k? And all of those things. That doesn't mean you shouldn't or should. It just means you have to be a critical thinker and look at all these things. And I moved away from, I think, around 2014 into ridiculing people about boycotts, because all parts of the United States, when it comes to access to resources, retail, grocery, and all those things, are not the same. And it would be similar to how I feel when white liberals come into the black communities or come around black people telling black people what they should and should not do. It's the same principle. I don't think it's my right to come and tell you when and how to boycott. and you need to decide that on your individual way. And so I'm saying that all to say I like the fact that it's been flexible, where there's a really calendar outlay plan so people can get their necessities and pull back at other points.
And be strategic with your money. I'm going to say
Mm-hmm.
this again, like I've been saying, don't beg anybody to take your money. But in the meantime, for the black people or you people of color, Hispanic or whatever, or just the white brothers and sisters that are not into the whole racist, sexist, misogynistic ideology, you know, maybe they should look at maybe a company like Costco instead of Walmart.
Right,
You know,
right.
look at
That's,
so it
I'm loyal to Costco.
so
Costco has been good to me.
yeah. So the point I'm trying to make is that we got to be strategic collectively, but individually. It's like,
Right.
why do you now, you know, and it may take you a while to say, okay, do I really, really want to? I know this company, they've been clear that they don't really give a shit about me and respect me. You know,
Right.
maybe I'm a good employee, but
Right.
how long do I want to give my capital, not capital, my my gift and talent
Your
and
blood,
skill?
sweat, and treasure. You
Yes,
work for that money. That's your
yes,
money.
yes.
I talk to my students every day. They have a few students throughout each semester that miss a bunch of days, and I always tell them, this is your money. Even when you get in a scholarship, because guess what? You flunk this class on financial aid, guess what's got to happen? You're going to pay for it out your pocket because you need this class to graduate. And so why are you wasting your blood, sweat, and treasure? Because this is going to come back in the form of student loan payments if you're paying to go to school, and a missed opportunity if you're on scholarship, and jeopardizing the opportunity to pay for the rest of it being out of your pocket. We just need to be honest about things and think them out. But as a collective, yes, we support these blackouts and these protests, and we're always going to stand on the side of human rights, human decency, human expression, and fight for the truth. And at the end of the day, I'm just saying, be careful, be conscious, be aware, but at the same time, the fight continues. The fight ain't over.
and
It's
and
just
and
that we need to strategize
and it's
better.
strength in numbers. It's strength
Right,
in numbers.
right, right.
So something just I'm using myself as a quick short example. I'm very intentional now, looking for black farmers and black farms here in my area or in the state. As a matter of fact, there's a Black Expo happening this weekend, and there are going to be some black farmers that's represented there. They're going to be giving out, I think, 1,500 bags of produce. I've already had this conversation in my household. Okay, let's find some black farmers, and we can get our produce. I don't have to keep going. Now there may be a few items that I may have to go to the supermarket. I am not renewing my membership with Sam's Club, so I am, I'm going back to Costco. But
Right.
I will just close by saying this, and thank you, man. You were on fire. Oh, and real quick, so your other mother said, awfully sharp, my other son. Glad to
Thank
glad to see you. So, as my grandmother taught me, Sean, she said, Jeannie, don't beg nobody to take your money.
No,
So when,
no,
be it a person,
no.
be it a business, a company, when they show you that they don't value you, they don't value your community, they don't value your culture, they don't value your family, they don't value your money, then you shouldn't value them by giving them your money.
You're exactly right. I don't spend my dollars where they welcome. I'm a promoter app. It's called the what is the name of the goods app? Wow, I had a brain freeze. Let me pull it out of my phone. But the app that I use is called the Goods Unite, and it gives you every political dollar that most of the companies in there that they have. And if there's a company you're curious about, you can send it to the administration, and they'll find and dig into how did they spend their political money. In some situations, I noticed like industries like hardware stores, those are conservative controlled. You have to
Lowe's,
figure out who's
Home
who's
Depot.
spending the least amount of money on the Republican ticket when it comes to industries. And you'll see there's industries like that where people who are not Republican donors or at least center left, don't have any spaces. But I'm sure within those businesses there are probably small black and brown and women-owned businesses that align with us politically. They're just so small we don't hear about it. The other dynamic is we now live in the age of logistics. So the good thing is that you can find companies that you need items from and order online and investigate. I mean, and look at other places to spend your money instead of the big corporate box stores that don't appreciate your dollars, where they're taking their profits and investing in politicians that are designed to strip you of your rights, to strip you of Social Security and Medicare. Again, this takes a little bit further investigation by every citizen. I look at it, if you have time to watch the Super Bowl, reality TV shows, the Oscars, then you should be able to spend a couple of hours a week um, looking into who has your best interests and how to spend your money and support businesses that do, and save your money and invest your money. I'm big on fan base. I've been investing a little bit here and there in fan base. I'm This is not an endorsement of their financial product, but it's just an example of a country that's black owned that I'm willing to invest in on the ground level, and hopefully it becomes bigger and 10, 12 Twitters and Facebooks, and I'm a multi-millionaire in a few years behind it.
That's Isaac Hayes' son, Isaac Hayes the
Yes.
third. I
Yeah.
rock with him.
Right.
I'm on fan base, and I do
Right.
plan to go ahead and invest in the company.
Yeah.
But listen, if we can spend hours doom scrolling videos on TikTok. You can take time, because I can't think of the name, but if you can do the search. There are apps that have a list of, like, I heard Pastor Jamal Bryant talking about. I can't remember the name last night. I think there's an app. There's a site location where I think there's like 300,000 black-owned businesses nationwide. Damaris told me about an app that's owned by a black woman. It's like a startup version of Amazon, and I went to the site. I just can't remember the name, to where you could
And
order
definitely
certain things.
Share that one.
Yep.
Share that one.
Yep.
Definitely
You
share
can order things online, different products, some grocery items. So
Right.
listen, Professor Sean Mitchell, thank you for the knowledge, the wisdom, and hitting with the facts. We're all we got. We're all we need. But money talks. They say money talks and bullshit walks. But we got to support.
CMB, we all we got.
We all we got, but we all we need. But we got to be strategic with our money, and support.
Right.
All black-owned institutions, including media, because it's important that voices like myself. I'm not just patting myself on the back. From Roland Martin's platform, you got Don Lemon, you got people on this site, Substack, Joey Reed. I know Don Lemon's got a YouTube channel. There's some other, Rick Party is about to launch a YouTube channel. So there are a significant number of us that's got platforms to speaking truth to power, and we've got to support those, because these corporate media folks, they're bending the knee and bending over, and they don't want powerful voices. But But the truth is, you look at the numbers, and corporate media knows it. That they got more people watching, watching platforms like YouTube and TikTok, especially your millennials and Gen Zs. They don't even consume media like folks in their 50s or 60s or 70s did. They're not doing that.
Right. Yeah, it's different. I find myself sometimes, instead of watching entire shows, looking for the clip on YouTube or going to various websites to find the clip, because now I just don't have the time to really sit in front of the television for 2-3 hours and listen to the whole show of the show called the news, because now it's more of a show. Even those people that I support and like the type of work they're doing, it's still moved to a point, even those I agree with and support, and they tend to present the news in a fashion I like, there still is some showmanship to it now.
It's entertainment, man.
It is.
And it's been that way. It's entertainment. So you can come here, we can entertain you and educate you and enlighten you and inform you and inspire you. So that's what we've been doing.
Yeah, it makes my job challenging, especially in dealing with incoming freshmen and sophomores and some of
Oh,
our
yeah.
high school advanced students, because I have to really work with them about sources and research and confirming sources and understanding. I have a cousin, unfortunately, that's a Trump pansy, that I love them from a distance, but they base everything off what they see from videos on TikTok. And that's unfortunate with everything, all the misinformation, the various psychological ops that are being ran in the country, along with the misinformation for whatever purposes. And when you lack education and you don't understand sources and how to go research a topic beyond just Googling it, um, we're in trouble. And that's been because over the last 35, 40 years, there's been an effective dismantling of the education system.
That's why you got to consider the source and support trusted voices that you know that's going to come with receipts. I'm not patting myself on the back, and it's going to have contributors and people on the show that's got knowledge and receipts that read and have read, like this man you see on camera with me. So,
and then you just need to, at the end of the day, and I'm gonna say this and wrap it up, you just need to be a critical thinker. Critical thinkers question. I question, even when I know I'm right, I still go back and question some things. And you have to separate emotion. I mean, there's going to be a lot of things we see that we just do not like. There are people's lifestyles I may not necessarily agree with, but I support their right to live their lifestyle. And I think that's just what we have to do. So, yeah, as much as I hate the Trump pansies, the non-voters, and all of that stuff, uh, we have to be open, because if 100% black people vote the way we want them to vote, that's still not enough to shift the electorate. So we have to bring people into the fold, people that think like us, that agree with us, and educate those willing to do better and want to do better. And I think we're going to start to see some of the political ground shift, because pain is the best teacher. You know, when you fall out and skin your knee, you ain't gonna do that no more.
it's the common denominator. You know, we're always welcoming, but I'm gonna be honest, I don't think that collectively we're gonna have to, you know, for me, we focus on us. We've always been inclusive, because collectively we know what it's like not to be inclusive. But some of these folks, even like some of these cult members, are now finding out that, oh snap, oh shit, wait a minute, I thought you was just gonna hurt them, them folk, them DEI, them. No, it's coming for you. And now you see how
everybody.
Yep, you see how evil and sinister it was. So it's like, okay, you in this boat too, partner. So do you want to continue to vote against your own interests, to continue to lose all your rights, lose all your health care, Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, Head Start, child care, you name it, clean air, clean water, public schools closed down, rural hospitals, I can go on and on and on. In the meantime, your taxpayer money that you do pay, they want to cut your Social Security and your mama's Social Security, so we could give Elon Musk even more than $8 million a day for destroying the government. Man,
Yep, you're exactly right.
It's that simple.
Right.
It's that simple.
Yeah.
Sean Mitchell, Professor Mitchell.
Thank you,
Love
sir.
you, brother. Appreciate you, man. So we'll
Love
see you.
Audience. Stay safe in South Carolina with the fires and everything to come from that. Praying for everybody there.
Yeah, we got some rain today, some storms. They were up near Myrtle Beach. Actually, that was the fires that you saw on TV was outside of Myrtle Beach. All right, thanks, man. All right, thank you, brother. Bye. Professor Sean Mitchell, that's my man. He's a brilliant brother there. Let me just do this real quick, everybody. Hey, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being letting me be a part of your life. And as always, God bless each and every one of you, and you, especially you, God, most of all. Thank you for letting me do the Geno Jones Show live Monday through Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern. Hey, Chicago, Central Time, 5:30. Live in Los Angeles, 3:30 p.m. subscribe, share, screen grab, like, binge watch all my back episodes. Once again, please, it's so important that we support Black-owned media. Those who would like to support, if you love the show, if you love me speaking truth to power and bringing on guests to speak truth to power and still entertain you and make you laugh, make you think, and give you information, facts, receipts, with facts and receipts, where you can get the truth, the whole truth, and as my grandmother say, tell the truth and shame the devil. It is so important that we support our media companies financially, not just mine, but all of them, from, like I said, all the talented Black personalities, content creators, from your Roland Martins to Don Lemons to Rick Parties. There are a significant number of us, but we need your support. I need your support, continued support. So if you would like to make a financial contribution, one-time donation contribution, if you like to do something on a reoccurring basis, every pay period, whenever, it's greatly appreciated. No amount's too small or too big. $5, $500,000, from $5 to $5 million, $50 million. We'll take it all. A Cash App, even I don't know if you can Cash App 50 million, but you can Zelle it, I'm sure. So my Cash App is $, capital D, lowercase AD, capital G, capital J, lowercase ONES, $ Dad G Jones. You can Zelle your contribution or your donation. Geno Jones, just go to Zelle, type in Geno Jones, and when it asks for a number, just type in the 843 area code, and it'll take you right to my Zelle business account, and you can make a donation contribution there. Spread the word, tell everybody to subscribe to the channel. We are very close to becoming a YouTube partner, which means I'll start getting checks. My media company will, from YouTube. So please spread the word to subscribe, screen grab, rip some of the video. Please like, thumbs up, click the thumbs up. This and every episode. Leave your comments. This and every episode. When you're watching me live, the show is interactive. Leave your comments. I see you, Big Picture Podcast. And of course, my mother and everybody else that's been watching today. Thank you. Thank you so much. I will see you live. Also, shout out to Markel Bailey, the official barber and hairstylist for the Geno Jones Show. Check him out on Instagram, KELBECUTTINUP, Kel, with a K, Kel B, cutting up. Allie Jones, the official wardrobe consultant and stylist for the show. Check her and her Lexi Jones collection out at lx.ncl_. Shout out to Bruce Gage, consultant, wardrobe consultant, stylist for the show. Check him out, the Mario Uomo collection on Instagram, MARIOUOMO. It's pronounced Uomo, but it's spelled UOMO. Bruce Gage, also on Facebook. Check out the Mario Uomo collection. We'll see you live Thursday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern. If you missed this or any part of this episode, go back, binge watch this. Last night's show was fire also. And don't forget, once again, now if you'd like to be a sponsor or advertise on the show, also just reach out to me, email me, GenoJonesShow@gmail. Give me a contact phone number. I'll contact you. I will email you out a media buy package, all the information you need. Once again, please, contributions, donations to the Geno Jones Show, Cash App, $ Dad G Jones, or Geno Jones at Zelle. We'll see you live Thursday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern.
You don't want to miss the 2025 Charleston Black Expo. A full day of fun and activities for the whole family, including job fair, health pavilion, free seminars. Join the fireside chat with gospel legend Kirk Franklin, actor Corey Hardrick, and comedian That Chick Angel, with performances by Cupid the Line Dance King, R&B diva Selena Johnson, and Sunday's best Ashford Sanders. It's an enlightening, educating, and entertaining experience you don't want to miss. For tickets, visit blackexposouth.com. Get ready for the 2025 Charleston Black Expo Weekend, March 7th and 8th. Join us for another exciting and empowering weekend for the entire family. Friday, experience the taste of Black Charleston at the Charleston Visitor Center. Saturday, enjoy the Charleston Black Expo at the Charleston Area Convention Center with guest speaker Kirk Franklin. And end the weekend at the official after party at the Segra Club. It's an enlightening, educating, and entertaining Low Country weekend you don't want to miss. For more information and to get involved, visit blackexposouth.com.
Subscribe and tune in to the next episode of The Geno Jones Show, exclusively right here on YouTube.